Welcome back to the show. I'm Gill Gross. It is good to have you with us. We are talking. Oh, by the way, let me tell you real quick. We had last week Paul Brodeur on, who was the big expert, of course, on electromagnetic things and all of that, and the cellular phones causing cancer in your head and all of that stuff. It was an exciting hour. This was the guy who did the original reporting on much of that for the New Yorker over the years and has written many books about it, of course, like Currents of Death. Phones went off the hooks about it. Tomorrow, we've been trying to find somebody who would go up against him. We got a guy. And all heck will break with all the news about the phones and everything going on. You'll hold him over because it's tomorrow's show. So let me get back to what we're doing here. X-rated stores that basically are videos wall-to-wall that are opening up quite a bit, in part because a lot of the major chains like Blockbuster won't handle this material. And also because, hey, it's a recession. These guys take about 15 minutes to set up their racks and a cash register, and they can go to a landlord and say, hey, until you rent this place to something good, you don't even have to write me a lease. I'll be out the day you want me out. It's a very attractive deal for landlords. So they're popping up all over the country. Charles Millard, a member of the New York City Council who wants zoning to move these guys out of certain areas, is with me in the studio. Bill Margold, who is a director and actor in X-rated films for 23 years, is on the phone with me. And you're on the phone with me, too, at 1-800-456-1227. Before I go to your next call, Bill, I think you wanted to answer our previous caller.
Well, I think I was attempting to answer the woman she tends to attack the X-rated industry for all of the ills of society, as seemingly everybody else does. And she also made the mistake of mentioning Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy went to his death utilizing pornography as a whipping boy and a scapegoat, and fed Dobson, the man who exacted the confession from him, exactly what Dobson wanted to hear. When, in fact, Ted Bundy, he went off the deep end, propelled by what he had seen in detective magazines. And I know exactly the crimes that sent him over the brink had nothing to do with the adult entertainment industry or pornography in any way, shape, or form.
I think I don't really care so much about Ted Bundy as much as I care about all the people who aren't killing somebody, or maybe even aren't beating them or whipping them, but who have come to see. And this is not, I wouldn't censor against this, okay? We're just talking about what I think about the industry. People have begun to view themselves more and more and more as sexual objects. Now, I'm not talking about you should or shouldn't enjoy sex, but that someone is there for my gratification. And not just the porno industry, but all the advertisements that you were talking about a couple minutes ago glorify meaningless gratification in a way that I think takes out of society and out of people the values that really hold us together as human beings.
Well, that's very nice, and it's almost euphonic, but the thing you're talking about is a dehumanification of society in general. If you're going to lay that at pornography's doorstep, then you might as well lay the New York Yankees' troubles at their doorstep, the Giants' troubles, the Jets' troubles, and the Bills' troubles.
Well, the way the Bills were in the Super Bowl, maybe they'd have been better off making an X-rated video.
I think it's time to move on here. Let's go to Alan in Virginia Beach.
They screwed that game up.
Hey, how you doing, Gil?
I'm doing fine, Alan. How you doing?
Oh, pretty good. Hey, I have a couple of comments for y'all. First up, if we really want to get stringent on the X-rated movies and stuff like that, why don't you get with Hypatia Lee's husband? Now, Hypatia Lee's husband makes the movies while she stars in them.
Yes, she does. Yes, he does.
Okay.
Hypatia's a wonderful lady.
I mean,
sounds like a marriage made in heaven to me.
It is, because these people they're extremely tolerant of each other's needs. Hypatia is a superstar.
That's right. And in reference to the video stores, we used to have them down here in Virginia Beach till about 5 or 6 years ago, when the Bible Belt moved up a little bit more, and the Pat Robertson organization decided to go ahead and push that out of here, and they also took the Playboy Channel out of here.
Oh boy, beware of his insidious tidal wave.
I mean, and the only place where we can actually go and get the movies and rent the X-rated movies is to go across the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel into Hampton and Newport News and above there. I mean,
well, see, you're a perfect customer.
Up there and down in North Carolina.
You're a perfect customer for the adult entertainment industry, and that's why, in a strange way, I totally agree with Mr. Millard that I would prefer to have our industry, as I call it, the Garden of Eden surrounded by the Love Canal. I want you to come to us rather than us coming to you. We've made it way too easy for you to obtain the X-rated industry, and tragically, the X-rated industry has become common in its 20th year.
So what does this mean? Why is this? Hold it. We're trying to understand this. Why is this bad for you? Because it's leading to price cutting and stuff?
I always preferred to be unique. I always preferred the X-rated industry to be something that you had to come to be the misunderstood entertainment microcosm. Now, with the facility of being able to get the material, it's becoming tragically ordinary and dull.
Well,
and it doesn't really make us try as hard to make stuff good anymore.
You know, Madonna is herself single-handedly trying to make sex boring, which is something I didn't think was possible.
I haven't seen the book. Madonna,
but it's just so much of it. It's like that, and the Marky Mark Jeans ad, and when you get assaulted by it so much, and there's nothing special about it, and unfortunately, there's never anything sensual about it. After a while, it's become routine and boring.
Well, I'm saying that myself, and that's why I would prefer to be isolated into some form of adult Disneyland with a moat around us, alligators, landmines, machine guns, barbed wire, and make them
Bill,
come to us.
I'm learning more about your fantasy life than I want to know. Let's go to Marilyn in Florence, Kentucky. Hi, Marilyn.
Hello.
Hi.
I would like to ask if this bill has any dollars. And
that's a very famous question. I've been asked it many times.
And the answer?
Yes, absolutely.
Well,
and I'm going to answer your question before you ask it. Would I allow my daughter, when she turns 18 years old, to be in the adult entertainment industry?
No way. Let me say what I want to say.
Oh,
my
good.
teenage boys came in with one of the movies, and no way did I know they would even try to rent one. And the kid, when I went up about it, they said the kid probably had a fake ID, but he did not. He was a big kid, and he came home with this movie, and it showed the women, the men weren't up to sex, and it was this idea where women performed sex on the other girls.
What's wrong with that?
A girl chewing on another woman's vagina for 15-year-old boys to watch?
Well, but the thing is, I'm not talking about the 14-year-old boy watching it, but if these are adults doing adult acts between adults...
But she is talking about the 15-year-old boy watching it, because earlier...
One of my sons.
Yeah, because earlier, Bill, you were talking about how the laws are strict and somebody under the age of 21 can't get a hold of this, and she's saying to you that her kid did.
If kids get false IDs, if kids are able to lie...
He did not have a false ID. He walked up to the counter and he got this...
then report him.
Pardon me?
Report the store.
Well,
what are you going to do? You're going to pluck your child's eyes out? Are you going to wash his mind out with soap? It's simply sex, ma'am. It isn't going to hurt you.
It is not sex when another woman chews on another woman's vagina.
I feel sorry, ma'am, that you never experienced that part of sex.
All right. Let's move. Marilyn, thank you. Thank you for the call.
I'm a happy married woman.
And Marilyn, congratulations. I thank you for the call. All right.
I think Marilyn's point about that sexual act, I think, goes to what I was saying before. Again, I'm not here to censor what people do, but I do think that society suffers when we glorify that kind of meaningless gratification. People used to believe that sex and love and commitment and relationships and family, however defined, were the kinds of things that made a society strong. And now, that kind of gratification with no even hint of any meaning behind it has a lot to do with the deterioration in society today.
Yes, but you can't save society, sir. I'm sorry.
So you want to lead us down the path as fast as we can go?
I don't think I'm leading it down the path. I'm simply trying to entertain it. X is simply another letter in the entertainment alphabet. I am certainly not trying to turn society's mind off.
But
here's the whole thing, and be very, very careful. If you and your minions succeed in driving the X-rated industry underground, where it was born, if you remember, if you know the history of the X-rated industry, then the X-rated industry can do anything it wants to do. And that's very, very dangerous, because these people have tried to conform to the current state of law, to the current community standard. And we have tried to adapt ourselves and are essentially censoring ourselves out of existence. So leave us alone, and we will succeed in committing entertainment suicide.
No, but you're saying leave us alone, and that's what everybody in all the neighborhoods are saying. You said that you think it's just the free market, and if there's a market for these places, then people will come. But the fact of the matter is, when someone lives next to a smokestack, the free market is working great because somebody is burning something or building something in that factory that somebody else wants to buy. But the guy who lives next door to it, who has to breathe it in, is suffering. And just like the family who says, I don't want to have to deal with my 14-year-old kid renting this stuff when I don't know about it, they're suffering because the market has secondary effects that they can't control.
Well, there's a freedom to organize a picket to do something to get rid of that store.
That's what we're doing.
Go right ahead.
Speaking of the free market economy, it's time for me to give the local stations a chance to get in on some of that. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back with you on the Gill Gross Show.
Is this on, Robert? Okay. Well, welcome to the Better Leadership Through Effective Communications Techniques seminar. I trust you've all enjoyed the Continental Breakfast / Getting to Know You session. Now, immediately following my opening welcome, you'll have the choice of 3 very exciting sessions. In the Pocahontas Ballroom, there's time management and time budgeting. In the Geronimo Room, there is redundancy reduction. And in the Sasquatch Room, there is stepping up effectiveness.
Employers try a lot of things to help their employees become more productive, but we'd like to remind you that the National Guard and Reserve teaches employees skills to be better team players, decision makers, and leaders. So when they need time off to train, be a hero. Give them the freedom to protect ours.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I'd like to go get one more of those French crullers before they're all gone. One with the sprinkles.
A public service message from employer support of the Guard and Reserve and the Ad Council.
It's sure not how I thought it was going to be. Some days I don't get anything to eat. I had a friend who died out here. I had to run away. You can't go home. Things were bad before, but this is worse. I just don't know where else to go.
Thousands of kids like Timmy run away to live on the streets. Covenant House helps these kids with food, clothing, a place to stay, or just someone to talk to. Call us on our 9 line, 1-800-999-9999. 24 hours a day, no questions asked. That's the Covenant House 9 line, 1-800, and keep dialing 9. It's free.
I never thought I'd end up like this.
This was a public service message from the Advertising Council. If you need help, call the 9 line.
1-800-999-9999.
We are back. Charles Millard, a member of the New York City Council, who, again, we should point out, isn't in favor of banning pornography, but he is in favor of zoning to move it out of certain areas. Bill Margold, who feels that as censorship, is director and actor in X-rated films for some 23 years. And you are all on the phone, and we are going to go to Rob in Salt Lake City. Hi, Rob.
Hello.
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Good. What's on your mind?
Well, first of all, I'd have to agree with Charles. I think that it should be regulated, and zoning would be a good thing. On the other hand, the gentleman that you have opposing his comments is disturbing in that I wonder why he doesn't. I'd like to know whether he thinks that X-rated films have a detrimental effect on society.
No, I do not.
And why is that?
Well, but again, I think I already stated it. The only way an X-rated film is going to really harm you is if it bore you to death. It's another film, sir. It's simply another form of entertainment. If you don't want it, turn it off. I've never seen an adult videotape jump down off a shelf, grab a person, lead him home, force his eyes open with toothpicks, and make him watch the tape.
Although that story has been told to a number of wives in the country.
Yes, I've been listening to that. And the other thing, the question I have, though, is what about the people that aren't as sophisticated as maybe you and Charles are and certain other members of the audience that wouldn't have a clue, namely the 18-year-old kid that has, wants to get his jollies. And in fact, I think there was a show on 2020 last week, and speaking specifically to that issue, what X-rated films have on the adolescent or late adolescent mind.
Well, see, the thing is, again, here we go preying and preying and preying on the poor, benighted children when it all really belongs in the home in the first place. And that home, the family structure, doesn't really exist anymore because parents don't have time for their kids, so they blame the problems that their kids have on the X-rated industry. And you mentioned an interesting terminology, which was jollies. Are you begrudging people masturbation?
Oh, well, that's an interesting comment. I'm interested. It's interesting that you would use such a shocking comment like that when clearly your position is not one on solid ground.
Well, no.
I would also like to add I fully support Charles, and I'll continue to listen to you, Gill.
Okay.
And I appreciate your time.
Rob, I thank you for calling. And before we...
very courteous man, but what was he talking about jollies and then backs down when he got caught in his own rhetoric?
He doesn't like this.
He doesn't.
No, he doesn't like this, and he feels he has the right not to like it.
The wonderful thing about radio is a lot of the people who call up and attack what this business is all about, of course, are people who watch this, but they want to hear themselves on the radio.
Oh, no, give our callers more credit than that. We've had people on both sides, and give our callers more credit than that. Let me go to Joan in Montgomery, Alabama. Hi, Joan.
Hi. Excuse me, but I'm going to be a little nervous. First time I've ever called in.
A virgin.
I said, excuse me, this is the first time I have ever called in.
That was Bill talking. This is Gill talking now, and I welcome you to the show.
Thank you very much. Well, I hate pornography, and I'll tell you why. I'm a victim of pornography. I was raped 15 years ago, and I was just a child at that time.
Back in about 10 minutes. That's the problem. It doesn't work.
So what is your comment on it? What are you going to do for me? I'm in prison for life.
Bill, did you hear that?
Well, I had to go to the door. I hear she's a victim of pornography.
She was raped, and she blames it in part on pornography.
Well, now that's ridiculous. Rape is an act of violence. It's not an act of sex. It has nothing to do with the X-rated industry.
But what it motivated my attacker.
Well,
Bill, you keep saying Bill, you keep saying that there's nothing to do with it. I think you're overselling that point. The fact is that repeatedly people who are convicted of rape are found to have had a lot of pornographic material in their home. Now, I'm not trying to oversell the flip side. I'm not trying to say everybody who buys pornography is going to go out and rape somebody. But the fact is that there are lots of act-out crimes where people see some scenario in a video and go out and do the same thing. So I think you're overselling the point.
I'm not minimizing the act of rape, but what I will tell you about the serial killers and the serial rapists is if you go into their rooms, you will also find, besides pornography, perhaps a TV guide, and perhaps a Holy Bible. So which really sent them off the deep end? Why is it always pornography? Why is always pornography the whipping boy?
Let me ask Joan, because it sounds like something came out at the trial, or you have some knowledge of what happened with this particular individual. Is that the case?
I was on my way home from school and was picked up by a 30-year-old man, forcibly taken, and I was taken to his apartment. And as he committed the act of rape, he said, oh, well, wait a minute. Let me put on my favorite tape.
Yes.
Well, Bill,
so that's an example.
It wasn't Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Well, what was it? Do you remember the title?
I have no idea.
She doesn't have to remember the title at a moment like that, Bill. Come on.
This sounds highly...
Come on.
Wait just a minute.
It really sounds highly specious because these type of people come popping out of the woodwork and then go immediately back into the woodwork. I did a talk show in Boston where they had all these women on who said that they were forced to perform sexual acts at gunpoint because this is what they saw on the tapes. And I don't have any tapes in my business that have people forcing guns down people's throats.
Well, maybe not in your business, but there are other people out there.
Well, you're also...
pornography.
There's a lot of different tapes on the market that have nothing to do, or on the underground market, that have nothing to do with the mainstream adult market. The underground aspect of the X-rated industry is something that I'm vehemently opposed to as well. We simply represent...
Why, do you find it morally offensive, Bill?
I find it morally offensive to use kids. I find it morally offensive to use animals. And I find it morally offensive to use aberrant violence, which means having sex and violence at the same time, because that is something that leaves scars not only on the body but also on the mind.
All right, I've got to take a break. Joan, thank you for the call. I know that this isn't a pleasant thing for you to talk about, and I thank you for calling.
Thank you so much for letting me have my say.
Okay, take care. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with you after I remind you. Man, this is... It's just such a strange switch here from talking about this adult stuff to remind you that the Gill Gross Show is sponsored in part by Flintstones Vitamins.
We're Flintstones kids.
Tommy, did you take Moose for his walk?
I guess so.
You guess so?
Yeah, I'm never sure whether I'm taking him or he's taking me.
Well, keep eating right and taking Flintstones vitamins, and soon you'll be a bigger influence on Moose.
Flintstones, complete with the vitamins and minerals kids need and the great taste they love.
10 million strong. Hear that, Moose? I'm gonna be somebody you can look up to. And growing.
He would break down and cry because the kids would make fun of him when he was asked to read orally. It was really horrible to watch.
This is Sandy Duncan with a Sylvan success story every parent should hear.
He's been gone about 6 months to Sylvan, and the progress has just been tremendous.
That was the first time I ever made the honor roll. I made my parents proud.
Sylvan Learning Center can boost your child's grades and self-esteem. So call your local center now, 1-800-EDUCATE. That's 1-800-EDUCATE.
Extra, extra, read all about it. Mario Perillo and Alitalia announced 2 brand new tours. The spectacular 3 capitals to London, Paris, and Rome, and the fantastic Spain and Italy tour. You'll never forget the magic of London, Paris, and Rome, the thrill of the Tower of London, the Eiffel Tower, and the Colosseum in one all-inclusive tour. Or the combined fascination of Spain and Italy to Madrid, Barcelona, Venice, Florence, and Rome. Mario takes care of everything while you enjoy the romance of England, France, Spain, and Italy. Yes, Perillo's new 3 capitals or Spain and Italy tour. So good that to get space, you've got to really, really, really hurry. Perillo since 1945. The best to Italy, Europe, Hawaii, and the Bahamas. For a free Perillo brochure, see your travel agent or call 1-800-238-7000. That's 1-800-238-7000 now.
Who will be the real heroes?
As a kid, I think, as most kids do, we sniped quarters or nickels or pennies from him. And anytime I did, I was guilt-ridden because his example of honesty would always haunt me. I got back to see my stepfather before he died, and I told him just how important his example was to me in my life and growing up. He got tears in his eyes, and I did too, and I wanted him to know that I really loved him, and he was the example of my life.
And in our hearts, somewhere, forever, all the real heroes live.
The important lessons in life are learned at home. From the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
You may patiently wait for your prince to come, but the key to getting your prince, Spot, Rex, or Fido to come when you call is to teach it to come when you call. Now, an 8-week-old puppy will follow on the heels of just about any kind-hearted, warm-blooded animal that pays attention to it. A puppy will follow you because it wants to, not because you want it to. When the puppy matures in 6 to 9 months and develops other interests, it's going to take off in the direction of any good-centered diversion, no matter what you say. And just hollering the dog's name over and over again till it wanders your way is not training. Now, the American Humane Association encourages you to call your local animal shelter for information on obedience training in your area so that someday your prince will come. And remember, keep a current identification tag on your pet. That tag could be his ticket home. The American Humane Association. They've been protecting animals and children for more than 115 years. Thank you for being with us this hour. Charles Millard of the New York City Council has been with us. Bill Margold, who's a director and actor in X-rated films for some 23 years. And, Bill, I only got 30 seconds, but your point, again, is if you leave it alone, the industry's going to fall apart?
I think it'll just simply go away because it'll be allowed to literally become more of a quantitative rather than qualitative industry, and society will find another fad.
Okay, and Charles Millard?
You can't censor it even if you think it's wrong. We ought to, as a society, learn to get away from it. But you can zone it out so it doesn't ruin our neighborhood.
Why don't you zone it onto the Statue of Liberty Island? That'd be fitting.
On that, now I don't want anybody looking up her skirts now. Let's close this hour where we are. I'm Gill Gross, and I'll be talking to you.